I was sleeping soundly on our old creaking bed, body exhausted after a long shift at the machine shop, when a deafening crash exploded through the night, followed by wind howling like demons ripping through the thin walls. My heart slammed against my ribs as I jolted awake, cold sweat pouring off me. What the hell was that? I thought, trying to steady myself in the pitch black. The roof shook violently as if someone were trying to tear it straight off the house. The windows rattled in their frames, screeching on their hinges, and then another terrifying impact, like thunder cracking right above my head. The wind screamed, hurling rain against shattering glass, and I felt the storm swallowing everything whole. I leapt out of bed, bare feet hitting the freezing floor, heart pounding out of control. "Willow! Luna!" I shouted, my voice cracking over the roar of the wind. My wife, Willow Vaughn, was curled in the corner of the bed, eyes wide with terror. My daughter, Luna Lane, was wailing inside her blanket. I didn't think. I just moved. I yanked them both up. "Get up! We're going to the basement. Now!" The wind tore the porch roof clean off outside. Wood snapped like breaking bones. I scooped Luna into my arms, grabbed Willow with my free hand, and ran for the basement door. The stairs were pitch black. I stumbled, my knee slamming painfully into the steps, but I didn't stop. We tumbled down, slammed the basement door shut, and the wind up above still shrieked like it wanted to rip the world apart. Down in the cellar, every minute felt like an hour. Dust rained from the ceiling, coating our hair and shoulders. The flashlight flickered, its weak beam falling on Willow's and Luna's pale, terrified faces. My wife trembled, nails digging into my arm. "Wild, what's happening? Is the house okay?" she whispered, voice shaking. Luna sobbed against my chest, tiny arms wrapped tight around my neck, breaking my heart with every hiccup. I held them both as close as I could and whispered, "It's okay. The storm will pass. We're safe down here." But inside, I was terrified. This house was everything I had. 10 years of mortgage payments, every drop of sweat I'd poured into building a home for my family. And now? The wind still roared. Something heavy crashed overhead, shaking the floor beneath us. I prayed silently, begging the storm not to last. Finally, after 4 endless hours, the storm began to weaken. The howling turned to a low whistle through the roof. Rain still drummed, but no longer like a waterfall. I took a deep breath, hands still shaking, and pushed the basement door open. "Let me check first. You two stay here until I say it's safe," I told Willow, handing Luna to her and forcing my voice to stay calm. I climbed the stairs, stepping onto cold, soaked tile, water pooling around my feet. The air was thick with the smell of wet earth and broken wood. I walked slowly down the dark hallway, heart racing faster than ever. Then I stepped into the living room and froze. Dawn's faint light was shining straight through. My ceiling. The entire roof was gone. Shingles lay shattered everywhere. Rain poured through the open sky like a waterfall, turning the living room into a swamp. I stood there, mouth open, unable to believe my eyes. The huge oak tree in the front yard had been uprooted and had crashed through the living room wall, crushing one corner of the house into rubble. Furniture was soaked, the couch ruined, books and family photos scattered like trash. "Oh God, what happened?" I whispered, feeling the world collapse beneath me. Willow and Luna climbed up behind me, and I heard them both gasp in horror. My wife stood frozen, hand over her mouth, eyes wide at the devastation. Luna ran to me, clinging to my legs, voice trembling. "Daddy, what happened to our house? Where are we going to live now?" She burst into tears, rain and tears mixing on her little face. I stood motionless, throat tight, unable to find words. How do you tell a 7-year-old that everything we owned was now just wreckage? Willow looked at me with a mix of pity and silent blame, as if thinking, "Why didn't you fix the roof sooner? Why didn't you take better care of us?" In the distance, sirens wailed, ambulance, police, fire trucks, red and blue lights flashing across cracked walls and scattered debris. But nothing could fill the hollow tearing through my chest. This was my home, the place I came back to after exhausting shifts, where Luna drew pictures and Willow used to smile. Now it was broken. I stepped outside into the drizzle, walking over the ruins, trying to keep my balance on splintered wood and puddles. My feet sank into mud, every step felt heavier. A few neighbors' houses were damaged, twisted awnings, fallen trees, but none were destroyed like ours. I stared at the house I'd been paying off for nearly 10 years, the one I planned to re-roof this summer, now just a shell of broken walls. Everything I'd saved, every overtime hour gone with the muddy water. Neighbors came running, eyes full of sympathy. Mrs. Linda next door handed me an old jacket. "Wild, put this on, you'll catch your death." Mr. Tom helped Willow and Luna to shelter under his porch. "You hurt? Everyone okay?" they asked. Their kindness warmed me a little, like a tiny flame in the storm. But it also cut deeper, reminding me how powerless I was. I couldn't even keep a roof over my family's heads. I, Wild Lane, 35 years old, a machine operator in a Seattle factory, had always thought I was the strong one, the provider. Now I stood in front of everyone like a failure. Willow stayed behind me, face flushed with shame at the pitying looks from the neighborhood, as if the whole street were watching our family hit rock bottom. She avoided everyone's eyes, clutching Luna tightly, and I knew what she was thinking. She regretted choosing an ordinary guy like me instead of someone wealthy like her family had wanted. Luna still clung to my legs, shivering, cold and scared. I could only stare at the ruined roof, feeling the entire world had collapsed on the one place I'd tried so hard to protect. A police officer approached, young, uniform soaked. "You the homeowner, sir? This area just got hit by an unforecasted severe storm. No time to warn or evacuate. A lot of homes are affected. Yours took a direct hit." He spoke professionally but with sympathy. I nodded, voice hoarse. "Yeah, Wild Lane. We were sleeping when it hit. I got my wife and daughter to the basement in time. Now, the roof's completely gone. The oak tree fell through the living room." He wrote quickly, eyes kind. "That's major damage. Sign here to confirm. We'll help you contact insurance." I signed the soaked form with shaking, freezing hands, nearly dropping the pen. When I finished, he clapped me on the shoulder. "Hang in there, Mr. Lane. Call us if you need anything." I nodded, but inside there was only a vast, echoing emptiness. I walked back to Willow and Luna, my feet heavy as if they were dragging through lead. The rain kept drizzling, turning the wreckage into a sticky, muddy mess. We started picking through what was left, my hands shaking as I gathered broken roof tiles and Luna's waterlogged toys. Every time I bent down, my mind spun with questions that hammered me like fists. Where would we stay in the coming days? Where would the money for repairs come from? How could I make sure Luna wouldn't be scared anymore? The responsibility crushed me like a boulder. Every breath felt labored. I looked around and saw neighbors still helping, but their kindness only deepened my shame. I was supposed to be the man of the family, yet here I was relying on pity. I thought about my parents' house on the far outskirts of Seattle, more than 2 hours away. It was cramped, damp, with a rusty tin roof and cracked walls. My retired factory worker dad still sat in his old chair, smoking and telling stories from the old days. My mom tended her tiny vegetable garden and cooked simple meals from whatever she grew. They loved me, but taking Willow and Luna there? No way. Willow would never stand the moldy smell, the narrow beds. And Luna, my sensitive little artist who loved her colored pencils, would cry without space to play. I could already picture Willow's even more disappointed looks. No, that wasn't an option. My wife, Willow Vaughn, worked in fashion marketing at a small company. She was kind and always ready to help friends, but deep down she carried a huge sense of inferiority. She was easily embarrassed that her husband was just an ordinary machinist like me, coming home every day smelling of oil and metal. Willow had grown up comfortably. She was used to nicer things, and sometimes I caught her hiding that quiet disappointment. Our daughter, Luna Lane, only 7, was the greatest joy of my life. She loved to draw, clung to me every night begging for bedtime stories. Luna was the reason I got up every morning, the reason I worked myself to the bone. Seeing her trembling among the ruins, all I wanted was to hold her tight and promise I'd always protect her. The closest and most practical choice right now was Willow's parents' house in Bellevue, an affluent area not far away. A big, solid mansion with a huge garden full of flowers and trees, and most importantly, safe for Luna. They had spare guest rooms, a modern kitchen, and the comfortable atmosphere Willow had grown up in. But the thought tasted bitter. My father-in-law, Solomon Vaughn, 62, owned a small building materials company. He was authoritarian, conservative, and valued money above everything. Every decision he made revolved around profit, and he never hid his contempt for me, a common laborer. My mother-in-law, Emery Vaughn, was boastful, obsessed with appearances, and looked down on others. She constantly talked about luxury vacations and expensive things, and she always regarded me as an outsider who didn't belong in their world. I wiped sweat from my forehead and turned to Willow, who was sitting with Luna, trying to keep my voice calm. "What do you think about staying at your parents' place in Bellevue? At least we'd have somewhere safe for tonight, especially for Luna." Willow shot me a sharp, resentful look, as if the suggestion itself was an insult to her pride. She let out a heavy sigh full of blame. "This is only happening because you never tried harder. Now we have to go begging my parents for help. Do you have any idea how disappointed I am in you, Wild?" Her words cut like a knife. I stood frozen. I tried to explain, voice trembling. "Willow, I've done everything I could. No one saw this storm coming. It would just be for a few days." She gave a cold, turned away and held Luna tighter, as if she couldn't even bear to look at me. I understood. In her eyes, I had always been the failure who couldn't give his family a decent life. The thought dragged up old memories I'd buried deep, tearing open wounds I thought had healed. I remembered when we first fell in love 8 years ago in a little cafe near the factory. Willow, with her long glossy hair and radiant smile, had held my hand proudly. "I love you because I see your sincerity, Wild. You're patient, strong-willed, and I believe you'll take care of our future." Back then, even though her family disapproved, she had hugged me in front of them as if declaring her choice. I believed our love could overcome anything. But that changed quickly once marriage was on the horizon. Our wedding day, supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, became a bitter scar. I remember it clearly. Beautiful sunny Seattle weather, but the atmosphere inside the church was heavy. My parents, simple and honest people, had saved up to buy decent clothes for the occasion. Dad wore his old suit, Mom wore fake pearls. They smiled warmly and hugged me tight. But the moment they stepped into the reception, everything shifted. Willow's family looked at them with open disdain, as if they were intruders from another world. Solomon raised his glass and said with a smirk, "Marrying within one's station is something to consider carefully, isn't it, everyone? Not everyone is fortunate enough to have a perfect match." His words stabbed me, but I swallowed the pain and forced a smile. Emery smiled politely, yet her eyes dripped contempt, as if poor people had dared to step into high society. At first, Willow defended me. She pulled me aside and whispered, "Don't listen to them, Wild. As long as we love each other, nothing else matters." She hugged me, and I believed love would win. But after the wedding, things slowly changed. The contempt from her family began seeping into our daily life. Family gatherings where I sat silently while they talked business and European vacations, and all I could contribute were stories about factory shifts. I watched Willow start to believe I really was incompetent, without a future, the wrong choice, just as her parents always said during their visits. "You deserve better than this life, darling," Emery would whisper when she thought I couldn't hear. And Willow, instead of objecting, stayed silent. I just kept trying to keep the peace, working day and night at the factory, saving every penny for my wife and daughter. Extra shifts until midnight, weekends fixing things around the house. I thought if I worked hard enough, things would get better. Willow would be proud of me again, like in the beginning. She would hug me and say, "You did great. I'm proud of you." But now, with our house destroyed by the storm and nowhere else to go, I finally understood. In my wife's eyes, whatever faith she once had in me was long gone. She saw me as a burden, and that pain crushed my chest. I swallowed the bitterness and refused to argue right now. My only priority was getting Luna somewhere safe and dry before nightfall, before the rain got heavy again. Let's pack what we can, I told Willow, forcing my voice steady. We loaded whatever was still usable, a few soaked changes of clothes, the family photo album, Luna's toys, into my old pickup. The engine coughed and rattled like it was about to die. Luna sat in the back, clutching her stuffed bear, eyes red. "Daddy, where are we going now?" I stroked her hair. "We're going to Grandma and Grandpa's house, sweetheart. Everything will be okay." Willow climbed in without a word, staring out the window. I started the engine and we drove away through the gray rain, headlights cutting through the muddy road. Ahead lay Bellevue, but in my heart, another storm was waiting, one made of humiliation. I gripped the steering wheel, heart pounding, having no idea that this night would change everything. About 10 minutes after we set off, Willow let out a heavy sigh and pulled out her phone. "I'm calling my parents to let them know what happened," she said in an icy tone, not waiting for my reply. I nodded and kept my eyes on the road, but my ears strained to listen. She dialed. The ringtone echoed loudly in the quiet truck. "Mom, it's Willow. Our house was completely destroyed by the storm. The roof is gone, walls collapsed. We're on our way to your place right now." Her voice started calm, but then her face darkened like storm clouds rolling in. I glanced over and saw her lips pressed tight, eyes narrowed. I could faintly hear Emery's voice through the speaker. "Really? Why didn't you fix the house sooner? And now?" Willow bit her lip. "Yes, I know. But Luna's freezing and we need somewhere to stay tonight." The call dragged on a few more minutes. When she hung up, her face was ashen, hands trembling as she slipped the phone back into her pocket. "What did your mom say?" I wanted to ask, but the words stuck in my throat. I didn't dare speak. I didn't want to make things worse. I just gripped the wheel harder, knuckles white, my chest heavy as stone. I could guess what had been said. More blame, more veiled jabs at my failure. The rain grew heavier, headlights glinting off puddles, and it felt like I was driving straight into a bottomless black hole. The closer we got to Bellevue, the faster my heart pounded. This neighborhood always made me feel out of place. Grand mansions, manicured lawns, luxury cars parked in open garages. My in-laws' house was one of them. White picket fence, huge glass doors, and the flower garden Emery loved to brag about. I slowed the truck as we reached the gate. "We're here," I said, voice hoarse. Luna looked up. "Grandma and Grandpa's house is so pretty, Daddy." I turned off the engine, took a deep breath, stepped out into the rain, and lifted Luna into my arms to shield her. Willow followed in silence. We walked across the wet driveway, water splashing under our feet, and I knocked. 3 soft knocks that felt like drumbeats in my chest. The door swung open and Dylan Vaughn, Willow's older brother, appeared like a ghost blocking the doorway. Dylan, 36, irresponsible, rude, and arrogant to the core, was someone I always tried to avoid. He drifted from job to job, spent money like water, and always looked at me like I was beneath him. He stood there in a clean polo shirt, arms crossed, glaring at me with open irritation. "Wild, what the hell are you doing here?" he snapped, no greeting, no warmth. Before I could open my mouth to explain, he kept going, voice dripping with mockery. "Step back. Look at you, filthy and soaked. You'll dirty the whole house." His words hit me like a bucket of ice water. The contempt froze me in place on the doorstep. My heart pounded, blood rushed to my face, burning hot. I looked down at myself. Clothes drenched, shoes caked in mud, arms full of soggy bags. Luna shivered in my arms and whispered, "Why is Uncle Dylan mad, Daddy?" I held her tighter, trying to stay calm. "Dylan, the storm destroyed our house. We just need a place to stay for a little while." Emery Vaughn appeared right behind him, gently pushing Dylan aside. She was dressed in a pristine long dress, hair perfectly pinned up, face carefully made up. "Oh, Wild, Willow, Luna." I heard everything on the phone. She said with fake sweetness, eyes cold as ice. "So sorry, dear, but Dylan's family is visiting today. The house is completely full. You understand, don't you?" I knew for a fact there were at least 3 empty guest rooms with big beds and private bathrooms. She was deliberately turning us away. The words sliced through me. Shame and heat flooded my face. My ears rang. Still, I swallowed my pride and begged, voice shaking, "Please, just a few days. For Luna's sake. She's freezing and the rain's getting worse." I looked down at Luna. She was trembling, eyes red, staring at her grandmother. Emery shook her head with a polite, practiced smile. "I really do understand, but there truly is no room. You'll have to find somewhere else. Maybe a hotel?" From inside the house came Solomon Vaughn's deep, cutting voice. "Willow and Luna can stay. But Wild, if you want to set foot in here, it's $5,000 a night." The words struck like lightning. I stood frozen, stunned. That offer was a direct slap to whatever was left of my dignity after the storm. It made me feel small, worthless. Rain poured down on me, soaking through my clothes, but the cold inside was worse. "Dad, what are you saying?" I stammered. Solomon didn't even show his face. He just called from the living room. I said it clearly. "No money, no entry." Emery pressed the attack, stepping closer with a sneer. "If you can't afford it, why don't you go back to that rundown shack your parents call a house? I'm sure it suits you better." Her words were salt in an open wound. My face burned, my ears roared. I turned to Willow, desperate for her to say something, anything in my defense. But Willow just stood there holding Luna, silent, looking at me with eyes full of blame, as if everything were my fault. She didn't open her mouth. She just hugged our daughter tighter and avoided my gaze. In that moment, my heart shattered. I realized her family didn't just despise me. Willow herself was drifting farther away than ever, a cold, painful distance that made my chest ache so badly I could barely breathe. The rain fell harder, wind howling, and I stood there like a stranger, tears mixing with the rain, wondering if there was anything left in my life to hold on to. I tried to breathe deeply, but the air felt thick, crushing my lungs. Dylan crossed his arms and smirked. "See? You should have known your place a long time ago." At that exact moment, Luna suddenly wriggled free from her mother's arms. Her eyes were red from fear and exhaustion, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yet she took a shaky step forward on the wet doorstep. In her small, childish voice, but with fierce determination, she declared, "Grandma, if Daddy can't come inside, then I'm not coming in either." Those words were a faint ray of light in the middle of the storm. My heart clenched with a mix of overwhelming pride and aching pain. Luna, only 7 years old, the little girl who loved to draw and always clung to me, was now standing there defending her father in front of the entire family. She gripped my hand tightly, staring defiantly at Emery and Dylan, even though her tiny body was trembling from the cold. I knelt down and hugged her. "Sweetheart, don't..." But the words caught in my throat because in that moment my own daughter was giving me strength I hadn't known I still had. Willow's face darkened even further with anger. She snapped sharply, "Luna, what are you saying? Be quiet right now." Her voice was so harsh that Luna flinched, then burst into loud, heartbroken sobs in the driveway. The sound of my daughter crying cut straight through me like a knife. Luna threw herself into my arms, sobbing, "Daddy, I don't want to. I want to stay with you." Rain poured down on her head, soaking her tangled hair. I shielded her with my body, helplessness surging inside me. Willow stepped forward and grabbed Luna's arm. "Stop it right now. Be quiet and let the adults talk." But Luna struggled and cried even louder. The tension rose like a bomb about to explode. Emery shot me a sideways glance, her smile twisting into a sneer under the porch light, and said with pure contempt, "Oh well, if Luna wants to follow her poor pathetic father, then by all means let her. Grandma won't force her. I'm sure living on the streets will be lots of fun, won't it?" Her words were venomous, rubbing salt into the wound. My blood boiled. She folded her arms and looked at us like beggars. Dylan stood beside her, arms crossed, laughing loudly, clearly enjoying my humiliation on their doorstep. "That's right. You and your kid should just go back to whatever's left of that dump, Wild. See if the storm left anything worth salvaging." His shrill, cruel laughter echoed, loud enough for any neighbor peeking through their windows to hear. My face burned, ears ringing, rage rising like a tidal wave. My wife's silence, her brother's mockery, her mother's sarcasm, and my daughter's tear-streaked face all crashed together into a pain I could no longer contain. It felt like a living nightmare. Rain soaked through my clothes, chilling me to the bone, but the fire inside was burning hotter. I remembered all the previous times Dylan had mocked me at family gatherings. "Hey, Wild, how much does a machinist make a month? Enough for a new car yet?" And Willow had only forced a smile, never once defending me. Now, standing in the pouring rain, everything reached its breaking point. I straightened up, fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. "Fine. Just wait and see," I said, my voice low but steady with resolve. "I'll prove every single one of you wrong for looking down on me. Right now, I'm calling the one person who's actually willing to help." My words rang out in the wind. For a split second, the air went dead silent, as if they were waiting to see what trick I'd pull next. Dylan burst into even louder laughter, mocking me. "Oh my God, who are you calling? The mayor? The chief of police to scare the Vaughns? Why not call the president while you're at it? I'm shaking over here." He pretended to tremble dramatically. Emery laughed along, shaking her head. "What an idiot. Stop putting on this pathetic show." Willow rushed over, grabbing my sleeve, voice full of panic and anger. "Wild, what are you doing? This is already humiliating enough. Don't make things worse, let's just go." But I ignored them all. I didn't hesitate for even a second. Heart pounding, adrenaline surging, I pulled my soaked phone from my pocket. The screen was blurred with rain, but I wiped it quickly and dialed Kellen Rowe, the son of tech billionaire Wesley Rowe, the young man whose life I had saved in a factory accident 6 months earlier. It rang twice. Then Kellen's warm, surprised voice answered, "Wild, everything okay, man?" I spoke fast, voice shaking but clear. "Kellen, the storm destroyed our house. We're at my in-laws right now, but they're kicking me out into the rain. Luna's crying. I don't know what to do." A second of silence. Then Kellen's tone turned dead serious. "My God, Wild, send me your location right now. I'm coming to get you. Immediately." I nodded, hung up, and sent the pin with trembling fingers. Rain hammered down harder, wind whipping my hair. I stood shielding Luna, holding her close. From inside the house came more laughter. My in-laws clearly thought I was putting on a pathetic act. Dylan shouted, "Done with your little phone call. Who's coming to save you, Superman?" Solomon snorted from the living room. "Let's see how far this clown takes the show. Probably called one of his drinking buddies to sleep at the factory." Emery laughed along, and Willow looked at me, frantic. "Who did you call? Stop this. Haven't you embarrassed me enough already?" I said nothing. I just held my daughter and waited. In that moment of waiting, the memory from 6 months ago flooded back as if it had happened yesterday, at the Seattle machine shop where I worked as an operator. It was an ordinary afternoon shift. I was checking equipment when a deafening explosion suddenly ripped through the R&D section. Some experimental generator, or whatever it was, I never knew the details, had blown up without warning. Thick black smoke poured out like hell's own fog, flames spreading fast. Engineers panicked, people ran screaming in every direction. I was standing at the doorway, heart pounding, when I saw him. Kellen Rowe, the young son of Wesley Rowe, who had been touring the R&D lab. He was trapped inside, collapsed on the floor, his leg pinned under twisted metal, choking on the smoke. Every engineer froze. No one dared rush in. The fire was too high, the smoke too thick. But I didn't think. Adrenaline surged and I charged in like a madman. The smoke stung my eyes, flames licked my sleeves, burning like acid. I dropped to my knees, yanked the metal off Kellen's leg with everything I had, hands shaking from pain but refusing to stop. "Hold on, I'm getting you out," I shouted, voice hoarse amid the roar of fire. Kellen, weak and gasping, "Save me. Please don't leave me here." I hoisted him onto my shoulder and ran through the wall of smoke, flames chasing at my back. We made it out by inches. I collapsed outside the door, coughing violently, hands blistered and raw. Kellen survived but was rushed to the hospital. Lung damage from smoke inhalation, a broken leg. I was treated too, though my injuries weren't as severe. That night in the hospital, billionaire Wesley Rowe himself showed up, impeccably dressed in a suit despite the chaos, face pale with worry. He grabbed my hand, eyes red. "You saved my son's life, Wild. I owe you a life debt. You are the benefactor of the Rowe family." His words were so sincere, so warm, they brought tears to my eyes. From that moment on, he no longer saw me as just an employee. I had saved his world. Kellen was his youngest son, the hope of Rowe Industries. Afterward, Wesley treated me like family. He invited me to his massive estate outside Seattle for dinner, talked about life, and told me, "I see real potential in you, Wild. Don't stay a machinist forever." Kellen, once released from the hospital, treated me like a big brother. Total respect, total trust. He called often, asked about Luna, sent her birthday gifts. "You saved my life, Wild. Call me anytime you need anything, I mean it." I had never taken advantage of that connection. I was too proud, too afraid I didn't deserve it. But now, standing in the rain, I knew this was the one time I had to use it. That memory gave me strength. My heartbeat steadied a little, even as the rain poured and the wind howled. Back in the present, the rain grew heavier, soaking through my shoes, freezing my feet. Everyone under the Vaughn's porch stared at me with irritation, convinced I was just bluffing to save face. Dylan wiped rain from his face and sneered. "Still waiting? Did you call a ghost to come rescue you?" Solomon nodded. "Let's go inside, everyone. Let the fool stand out there and sober up in the rain." Emery glanced at me. Poor Willow, married to a man like this. Willow stood huddled, eyes flickering between worry and shame. I checked the time. 15 minutes had passed. I started wondering if Kellen would really come. Roads were chaos after the storm. Maybe he was stuck in traffic. Doubt crept in, but I pushed it away and focused on Luna's warm breath against my chest. Then suddenly the ground began to vibrate, a strange low rumble like distant thunder, but closer. A powerful downdraft hit from above, whipping trees into a frenzy, leaves flying everywhere. I looked up, heart racing faster. "What the hell is that?" Dylan muttered, staring skyward. Everyone followed his gaze. Then the roar of helicopter engines thundered directly overhead, growing louder like rolling thunder, making everyone jump. "A helicopter? Why is there a helicopter here?" Emery shrieked, hand over her mouth. I stood frozen, unable to believe my ears. A huge, sleek black helicopter appeared through the rain, its searchlight flooding the entire garden. It descended onto the lawn behind the Vaughn mansion. The rotor wash flattened the grass, whipped up a small whirlwind of rain and dirt, and the deafening noise made my ears ring. What the hell is going on? Why is a helicopter landing in my yard? Solomon roared, stepping out from under the porch, face ashen. The Vaughn family stared in shock, turning to me with wide-eyed suspicion and panic. Dylan stammered, "No way. Who did you call?" Willow covered her mouth, eyes huge. "Wild, who on earth did you call?" Luna squealed in my arms. "Daddy, a helicopter. Your friend came." I stood there, heart pounding, barely daring to believe it myself. As the rotors slowed and the noise died down, figures emerged through the rain. Leading them was Wesley Rowe, 68 years old, immaculate suit untouched by the weather, silver hair gleaming under the floodlights, carrying the unmistakable authority of a billionaire titan. Behind him walked Kellen Rowe, tall and broad-shouldered in a leather jacket, flanked by 2 large bodyguards holding umbrellas. I was speechless, throat tight with disbelief. A helicopter? In a residential neighborhood? Wesley Rowe, the man who appeared on Forbes covers, descending from the sky like a god? He strode straight to me through the rain, placed a warm, protective hand on my shoulder, and said in his deep, steady voice, "Wild, are you all right? I'm here." Kellen immediately crouched down, scooped Luna into his arms, and gently wiped the rain from her face. "Hey, little princess. Uncle Kellen's here. Cold? Let's get you warm on the helicopter." Luna giggled, forgetting her tears. "Uncle, is that your airplane?" The air went dead silent, only the fading whine of the engines and the cold wind left after the landing, carrying the smell of wet earth and jet fuel. Wesley Rowe turned to face the Vaughn family. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp as steel, freezing the entire porch into stunned silence. No one dared breathe. Dylan was the first to react, voice cracking in terror as recognition hit. "Oh my God, Wesley Rowe, the billionaire Wesley Rowe." He stumbled back, face white, finger trembling as he pointed. Instantly, the entire Vaughn family reeled in shock, knees nearly buckling. Solomon gripped the porch railing. Emery covered her mouth. Willow stood paralyzed. The people who had just mocked me, humiliated me, and thrown me out into the rain now stared in utter disbelief that I, Wild, the man they had treated like dirt, was personally connected to and protected by one of the most powerful men in the country, the head of a multi-billion-dollar tech empire who graced national magazine covers. The atmosphere turned to ice. The Vaughn's silence spoke volumes, shock, fear, and a humiliation deeper than any they had ever inflicted. The rain kept falling, but now it felt like the dramatic soundtrack to the most stunning reversal of fortune. I stood there, Luna safe in Kellen's arms, feeling as if I were in a dream. My heart had calmed, but my mind was still spinning. Wesley stepped forward, his commanding aura instantly overwhelming the entire front yard, like a king standing among terrified subjects. He spoke, his deep voice low but carrying over the rain louder than the downpour itself. "I heard you demanded that Wild Lane, the man who saved my son's life, pay $5,000 a night just to take shelter here. How very interesting." His words landed like a slow fuse bomb. The tension thickened unbearably. I stood there, heart pounding, unable to believe he already knew every detail. Kellen must have told him on the way. Rain drummed on his shoulders, but Wesley didn't flinch. He stood immovable like bedrock in the storm. Then, in the same casual tone one might use to ask the price of a clearance item, he continued, "If you're so fond of putting a price on things, why not name one for this entire mansion? I can buy it right now if the number is right. A house like this is pocket change to me." Solomon went deathly pale, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. He knew perfectly well that Wesley Rowe could buy the whole Bellevue neighborhood with a single nod. I had read about him in the papers. Rowe Industries, a multi-billion-dollar empire with skyrocketing stock prices and corporate takeovers he handled like morning coffee. Solomon, the owner of a small, struggling building materials company, now stood before him like a beggar before an emperor, stammering, Mr. Rowe, there must be some misunderstanding." But Wesley only gave a cold, thin smile and said nothing, letting the silence choke the air. Solomon's attitude flipped instantly. He turned into a fawning servant. We would be honored to have you and your party inside. Please, come in, come in. It's pouring out here, you'll catch a cold." He frantically waved at Emery. "Darling, go make tea, hurry." Emery nodded furiously, face flushed with shame, while Dylan slunk behind them, suddenly mute. We stepped into the grand mansion. The scent of polished wood and fresh flowers hit me, yet to me it felt like walking into a gilded prison. Kellen carried Luna ahead. She had stopped crying and was now looking around with wide, curious eyes. Wesley placed a steady hand on my shoulder and whispered, "You okay, Wild? We'll sort this out." I nodded, voice thick. "Yes, sir. Thank you for coming." Once everyone was seated in the lavish living room, soft leather sofas, gleaming glass coffee table beneath a crystal chandelier, Solomon launched into his performance, voice dripping with false innocence. "Mr. Rowe, we have always loved Wild's family. He's our son-in-law. The money thing was just a joke. I'm sure Wild misunderstood. We would never turn away our own daughter and granddaughter." He shot me desperate, pleading looks, sweat beading on his forehead, hands clasped tight. I felt nausea rise at the shameless hypocrisy. Minutes ago he had thrown me out like a dog, now he was preaching love. Emery sat ramrod straight, trying to look composed, but her eyes flicked toward me with sharp blame, as if this entire ridiculous scene were my fault. She forced a syrupy smile. Exactly. We were only worried about space. But now, everyone is most welcome. Dylan's family, his wife, their 2 kids, who had been so loud and arrogant earlier, now huddled silently in the background, heads down, afraid to meet anyone's eyes. Wesley spoke again, his voice filling the silent room like a verdict. Wilde is not only the man who saved my son's life. He is also someone with a kind heart, extraordinary dedication, and who always puts others before himself. He locked eyes with Solomon, who immediately lowered his gaze. I sat there, heart pounding with emotion. Wesley was praising me in front of the very people who had despised me. Then he continued, calm and deliberate. I have been considering promoting Wilde to Chief Operating Officer of our Northwest Division, an announcement originally planned for next quarter. But I believe now is the perfect time to move that forward. The words hit like thunder. The entire Vaughn family went ghost white, frozen in their seats. Solomon's mouth hung open, speechless. Emery gripped the armrest so hard her knuckles turned white. Dylan stared at me, eyes bulging as if seeing a ghost. Willow turned to me, face drained of color. Coup? You? They're offering you that position? They could not process it. The man they had mocked and humiliated less than an hour ago was about to step into a top executive role at one of the biggest tech empires in the country. Sky-high salary, real power, a brilliant future. I was stunned myself, but I kept my composure, a surge of hope and disbelief rising inside me. Wesley turned to me, his voice gentle yet firm. Wilde, come with me. We're done here. I nodded immediately, scooped Luna into my arms. She clung tightly to my neck. Willow reached out, grabbing my sleeve. Wilde, wait. We need to talk. But I shook my head, voice hoarse. Enough, Willow. I'm too tired for this. The Vaughns' faces flushed crimson with shame. Solomon mumbling apologies, Emery covering her face, Dylan frozen like a statue. I walked out the door behind Wesley and Kellen, the 2 bodyguards clearing the way. Cold wind hit my face, rain slashed sideways, but an incredible lightness washed over me, as if I'd finally shed a burden I'd carried for years. The Vaughns stood rooted in place, watching me leave their house not as the beggar who had arrived, but as a man protected and respected. Dylan whispered in disbelief, No way. This can't be happening. The door slammed shut behind us. We stepped into the rain and boarded the waiting helicopter. The rotors spun up with a deafening roar. I held Luna tight, heart racing with nervous excitement. Where were we going? Wesley took Luna and me to a luxury penthouse owned by the Rowe Group, right in the heart of Seattle, with panoramic views of the city glittering through the rain. The helicopter landed on the rooftop and we stepped into an enormous apartment. Polished hardwood floors, plush leather sofas, a state-of-the-art kitchen. He clapped me on the shoulder. Rest here, Wilde. Don't worry about anything. For now, this is your home. Kellen grinned at Luna. Pick any room you want, princess. There's one with brand new toys just for you. Her eyes lit up. Really, Uncle Kellen? Daddy, I have new toys. I love it. I stood there, overwhelmed. From the wreckage of our house to this penthouse, everything felt like a dream. Before leaving, Wesley said, Come straight to my office tomorrow morning. We have important things to discuss. Don't be late, Wilde. He winked, then climbed back into the helicopter and flew off. I hugged Luna, closed the door, and collapsed onto the couch, mind reeling. Rain still tapped against the huge windows, the city sparkling below, but a strange excitement filled me. What was this important thing? Was it really the COO position? That night I lay on the enormous soft bed, warm blankets around me, but I couldn't sleep. I was still in shock from the chaos of the day. Luna slept peacefully beside me, exhausted from crying while I tossed and turned, images flashing. The ruined roof, Dylan's mocking laughter, Wesley's icy stare, and the promise of promotion. Early the next morning, I dropped Luna at school. She was already bouncing with joy, bragging to her friends about riding in a helicopter. I kissed her goodbye and drove to Row Tower, the gleaming glass skyscraper catching the morning sun, my heart pounding with nerves. I took the elevator to the top floor. Wesley's office was vast, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sound. He greeted me with a warm smile. "Come in, Wild. Sit, we have things to discuss." The first thing I did was thank him for saving my dignity in front of my in-laws with the promotion story, assuming it had just been a kind lie. "Mr. Rowe, thank you for protecting my pride last night. Thank you so much. The COO thing. You only said that to keep me from being humiliated, right?" Wesley shook his head, a kind but decisive smile on his face as he sat behind his polished desk. "No, Wild. The promotion decision was made long ago. I was only waiting for the right moment to announce it, and ironically, yesterday turned out to be that moment." He slid an official appointment letter across the desk, black ink on crisp white paper, his signature at the bottom. My hands shook as I held it. He added, voice serious, "But remember, if you don't perform, I'll replace you without hesitation. This is an opportunity, but it's also a challenge." I was speechless, overwhelmed with emotion, barely able to choke out, "Mr. Rowe, thank you. I promise I won't let you down." It felt like 10 years of struggle had been rewarded in a single moment. From ordinary machinist to COO of the Northwest Division. Sky-high salary, real power, a brilliant future. Tears rolled down my cheeks. He clapped me on the shoulder. "You've earned this, Wild. Now go make it happen." Before I left, he added, "If you need anything, call Kellen. My son will guide you. He sees you as a brother." I nodded, gratitude flooding me, and walked out clutching the letter. That day marked the moment my life officially turned the page. From a man despised and discarded to a key leader in a billion-dollar tech empire. I drove back to the penthouse, mind racing with plans: learn, work, protect Luna. The rain had stopped. Morning sun lit up the streets, and for the first time I felt excitement mixed with real hope. The future was bright, but I knew the challenges would be just as big. My heart beat fast with anticipation, and I asked myself, can I do this? Or will I fail? But right then I was ready to face whatever came next. I threw myself into the new job with iron discipline, like a soldier heading into battle who refuses to slacken even for a second. The title COO Northwest Division sounded impressive, but in reality it was a mountain of responsibility crushing down on my shoulders. Managing hundreds of employees, overseeing high-tech projects, negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts, and making sure every gear in the Rowe Industries machine turned perfectly. In those first days, I woke at 5, brewed strong black coffee in the penthouse's sleek kitchen, and drove to the office while the sky was still dark. Once there, I worked day and night just to keep up, poring over thick financial reports, analyzing market data, learning cutting-edge technologies I had only vaguely known about back at the factory. My heart raced every time I stepped into a meeting room, terrified I'd expose my lack of experience, but I gritted my teeth and told myself, "You have to prove Wesley didn't make a mistake." I came home late, body exhausted, yet my mind still raced with new ideas. How to streamline production, how to expand market share. The fear of failure gnawed at me, but that very fear pushed me forward. I studied relentlessly, filling notebooks with management formulas, negotiation strategies, even tips on how to deliver persuasive presentations. I attended every meeting, big or small, from small team huddles to boardroom sessions with top executives, never afraid to ask stupid questions just to understand. I stayed late under harsh fluorescent lights, eyes burning as I dissected reports and operational manuals. Some nights I sat alone in my huge office, staring out at Seattle's glittering skyline, asking myself, "What are you doing, Wild? from running machines to sitting behind a desk like this. Then I remembered Luna sleeping peacefully back at the penthouse, and I kept going. Kellen was always by my side, guiding me step by step. How to manage people, motivate teams, resolve conflicts. How to read body language in negotiations and make offers no one could refuse. One late night he grinned and clapped me on the shoulder. "Wild, you already have the skills and the experience. You just need a little confidence. Remember, negotiation is a mind game." Thanks to him, I improved fast. I went from the awkward guy in meetings to the one leading the discussion. My heart pounded with excitement every time I closed a deal, but also with fear of making a costly mistake. Within weeks, the people under me began to respect me. Young engineers looked at me with admiration when I quickly solved technical problems using my old factory know-how. Even senior executives who had initially doubted the machinist started slapping my back. "Wild, great job. Sorry we ever questioned you." I remember one major meeting where I proposed a supply chain optimization that would save millions. The room went quiet as everyone listened, then erupted in applause. My heart raced with joy, but also with the knowledge that the pressure would only grow heavier. Work was so intense I sometimes forgot to eat lunch, but life with Luna in the penthouse was a warm oasis amid the storm. She was happier than ever, thrilled with her huge new room where she painted the white walls with bright, colorful drawings. Wesley and Kellen visited often, bringing gifts for Luna and treating me like family. Wesley would sit on the sofa, sip coffee, and ask, "How's the job treating you, Wild? Any problems?" I'd tell him about the challenges and he'd smile kindly. "I have faith in you. I'm rarely wrong about people." Kellen played with Luna, teaching her digital drawing on a tablet. "Want me to show you how to draw a helicopter, princess?" She'd giggle, and watching them made my heart race with happiness. For the first time in years, I had a real family, not a fake one. But not everything was rosy. Willow constantly texted, called, and emailed, begging to talk and apologize. "Wild, I was wrong. Please let me see Luna. Can we just talk?" The Vaughns never stopped pleading. Solomon calling, "Son, I'm sorry. Come to dinner tomorrow." Emery texting, "Luna must miss Grandma so much. Bring her over." Dylan, shameless as ever, "Let's meet up, bro. Maybe talk about a job." Every notification made my chest tighten. I was afraid they'd never stop harassing us. I stayed completely silent, never answering a single message or call, determined not to let the old poison seep into our new life. Then one afternoon, when I went to pick Luna up from school under the warm Seattle sun, I found Willow waiting at the gate. She looked haggard, dark circles under her eyes, hair messy, expression desperate. My heart pounded with shock and old anger. "Willow, what are you doing here?" She rushed toward me, voice trembling. "Wild, please, just 5 minutes. I can't take it anymore." We went to a nearby cafe. Luna played in the kids' area while we talked. The place was cozy, filled with the smell of coffee, but the air between us was heavy as lead. I sat across from the woman I had once loved deeply, now looking so fragile. "Wild, I'm sorry for how my family treated you," she began, voice breaking. "I was wrong. I should never have stayed silent while they humiliated you. I didn't stand by you. Please give me a chance to make it right." My heart raced. Part of me wanted to forgive, but the memory of her silence on that porch cut like a knife. I calmly told her there was no going back. Trust and respect were gone, and I wanted a divorce to end everything once and for all. My words hit her like a bomb. She burst into tears, apologizing over and over, begging for another chance. "Wild, for Luna's sake, for what we once had, I'll change." Tears streamed down her face, her hands gripping mine, but I had made up my mind. My heart pounded with pain, yet I stood, took Luna's hand and walked out, leaving her sitting alone in her tears. Luna asked, "Was Mommy crying, Daddy?" I stroked her hair. "She's just sad, sweetheart. But you and I will be okay." I drove home wondering if I had made the right choice. Weeks later, when they realized I wouldn't budge, the Vaughns turned vicious. They smeared me on social media with twisted stories. He clung to our daughter when he was poor. Now that he's successful, he abandons his wife and her family. Typical ingrate who forgets who helped him. This kind of man doesn't deserve respect. Posts spread fast. Dylan wrote, "Ungrateful bastard. Saved a billionaire's son, then ditched his wife and in-laws the moment he got rich." Emery commented, "Poor Willow, my sister married a traitor." Willow posted tearful stories, "You've become someone else, Wild." My heart pounded with anger every time I saw them, but I didn't respond, didn't defend myself. I let the storm pass, trusting that time would reveal the truth, and because I was already used to being judged by people who knew nothing about me. A few weeks later, I made the decision to file for divorce. I no longer wanted the wounds to keep bleeding. My heart pounded as I signed the papers in the corporate law office of Rowe Industries, where everything was handled with cold, machine-like precision. Thanks to the full support of Rowe's legal team, the process moved quickly and cleanly, from drafting the documents to filing with the court. They helped me gather ironclad evidence, Willow's accusatory messages, the video of the Vaughns driving me away in the storm. "This will be over fast, Mr. Lane," the lead attorney said confidently, easing some of the anxiety knotting my chest. While waiting for the petition to be accepted, my mind spun with memories, the joyful wedding day, the arguments that slowly piled up, and that fateful stormy night. Every time I thought about the upcoming hearing, I wondered, how fiercely would Willow fight? How would this affect Luna? At the divorce hearing, I presented the full picture of the mistreatment I had endured, Solomon's and Emery's contempt, Willow's silence as I stood in the freezing rain. My heart pounded as I faced the judge, voice trembling but resolute. "Your Honor, I endured years of disdain, but now, for the sake of my daughter Luna, I must end this. I have overwhelming financial stability as COO of Rowe Industries, a warm penthouse and a far better environment for her. Top schools, friends, and genuine support from people who truly care." My attorney submitted thick files, financial reports proving my income was now many times higher, a psychologist's report showing Luna was thriving in my care, and the phone video of the Vaughns laughing as they shut the door on us. My heart hammered while waiting for the ruling, sweat beading on my forehead, hands clenched under the table. Mercifully, full custody was awarded to me with compelling clarity. Willow was granted scheduled visitation only. The gavel fell. The courtroom went silent. I exhaled in relief, but my heart still raced with worry for Luna. How would she take the news? Willow had almost nothing credible to counter with except belated tears. She sat sobbing, voice breaking. "Your Honor, I love my daughter. Please don't take Luna from me." Her lawyer offered only emotional pleas, no solid evidence that she could provide a better home. No financial documents, no proof. The divorce was finalized quickly in just a few short hearings, closing an 8-year marriage that had begun with sincere love and ended in accumulated disappointment. And that one fateful stormy night. I walked out of the courthouse with the papers in hand, sunlight streaming through the car windows, but my heart felt heavy as lead. Anxiety surged as I drove home to tell Luna, "Sweetheart, from now on it'll just be you and me. Mommy will visit often, okay?" She cried, "Where's Mommy going? Did she leave me?" I held her tight and explained as simply as I could. "Mommy still loves you very much, but Mommy and Daddy can't live together anymore. Daddy will take the very best care of you." In the nights that followed, Luna often woke up crying for her mother. I comforted her, my own heart aching like it was pierced by needles. But I knew this decision was right, even as I worried about raising her alone. At the same time, the Vaughn family began a downward spiral with no brakes. Solomon's reckless investments and greed caused his building materials company to hemorrhage money. I felt my pulse quicken when I read the news. After the storm, he had borrowed heavily to buy materials at inflated prices for big reconstruction projects, only for the market to crash and contracts to be canceled en masse. Their once proud mansion, the one they had bragged about to neighbors, thrown lavish parties in, was foreclosed by the bank. They were forced to move into a cramped, moldy rental apartment on the outskirts of Seattle, with cracked walls and a rusty tin roof. The exact kind of place they had once mocked when it belonged to my own parents. An old acquaintance told me they sold everything fancy. Solomon cried, handing over the keys. Emery and Dylan fight all day now. A strange thrill of vindication mixed with pity rose in me at the dramatic reversal. From manicured lawns to damp, narrow rooms smelling of mildew. I wondered, did they regret their words that rainy night? Dylan's family fared no better. His laziness and spending habits drowned them in debt. They scraped by, day to day. Dylan, once flaunting expensive cars, now stocked shelves at a local supermarket. His wife sold things online to pay credit card bills, and their kids were pulled from private school. I saw one of Dylan's posts. "Life's too hard, anyone able to help?" I just shook my head, heart racing as I remembered his shrill, mocking laughter on the porch. I worried they might come begging, but I had blocked every number, deleted every contact, and focused on our new life. Busy meetings, evenings telling Luna bedtime stories. While the Vaughns crumbled piece by piece, my own life soared. I ran the division with growing efficiency, closing massive international contracts, from European tech giants to American startups, delivering record revenue for Rowe Industries. My heart pounded at every negotiation table, nerves and excitement intertwined, but Kellen's guidance kept me winning. Confidence is the key, Wild. Financial papers ran stories about the machinist who became COO overnight, turning me into a Seattle inspiration, TV interviews, a Wall Street Journal profile, Wild Lane, from factory hero to corporate leader. My pulse raced reading the praise, terrified the spotlight would fade if I slipped, but Wesley's proud calls after every big win steadied me. The story of how my in-laws humiliated me that stormy night also spread. But this time, public sympathy was entirely on my side. Opinion turned against the Vaughns. They're the villains. Wild deserves every bit of happiness. My honor was fully restored, even brighter than before. Old friends sent congratulations. Neighbors in the penthouse building smiled. "Mr. Lane, you're an inspiration." I stayed silent, letting my actions speak. I stood firm in my new role beside my daughter and the genuine support of the Rowe family, while those who had once despised me fell into the very pit they had dug. Every morning in the penthouse, watching Luna paint with a radiant smile, I felt peace. Kellen dropped by on weekends to play chess with her. "Want me to teach you how to beat your dad, princess?" Wesley visited monthly, bringing management books. "Study this one, Wild. It'll help." Work soared, but I always made time for Luna. Park trips, bedtime stories. My heart still races sometimes, anxious about the future. What new challenges await? But I know I've walked through hell and come out the other side into light. Seattle rain taps on the windows like a reminder of the past. But the sun is out now and I smile. Life is fair after all. The nerves have faded, replaced by strength. I've risen and nothing can stop me now. After more than a year in the new role, I had firmly established myself as COO of the Northwest Division. The steady income and thriving career finally gave me the confidence to buy a spacious, fully equipped home for Luna and me. My heart raced as I signed the contract. A modest villa on the outskirts of Seattle with a lush green garden, bright living room, and a dedicated playroom for Luna filled with toys. "Daddy, does the new house have a pool?" she asked, eyes sparkling. I laughed. "Of course, sweetheart, and a big yard so you can paint outside." We moved from the temporary penthouse into our new home. The moment we stepped inside, the scent of fresh wood and sunlight streaming through the windows filled me with a mix of excitement and nervous joy. This was our real home, free from the shadows of the past. Work remained intense, endless meetings, major contract negotiations, but the stable income let me provide for Luna without worry. Top schools, small vacations, everything she needed. Anxious about our new house's safety, I installed cameras and an alarm system, telling myself, "This is a fresh start, Wild." I also bought my parents a brand new, comfortable house in the countryside, renovated the garden, and equipped it with modern appliances so they no longer had to live in damp, run-down conditions. My heart pounded when I called them, "Mom, Dad, I bought you a new house, spacious with a gas stove and washing machine." My father's voice trembled. "Son, why spend so much? We're used to the old place." But I insisted I wanted them to enjoy their later years in comfort. Every month I sent extra money and supplements, calling to check on every meal and nap. "Dad, what did you eat today? Did Mom take her medicine?" Worried they wouldn't adapt to modern gadgets, I guided them via video calls. Dad laughed. "I've got it now, son." Those moments warmed my heart, filling old voids. Luna grew sweeter and more lively every day, completely at home with the Rowe family. She treated Kellen like a real uncle and called Wesley Grandpa. That warmth made me feel for the first time that life was truly settled. My heart raced with joy when Luna hugged Kellen. "Uncle, tell me a superhero story." Kellen grinned, lifting her up. "Sure, princess. Want to hear how your dad flew through fire to save me?" Wesley played chess with her. "Grandpa won, but you're getting really good." She giggled, and those scenes melted away my early worries. The Rowes didn't just support my career, they filled the emotional gaps too. Luna grew fast, proudly showing Wesley her drawings. "Grandpa, I drew you flying a helicopter." He smiled gently. "Beautiful, sweetheart." One day, Wesley's eldest daughter, Alexandra Rowe, 32, returned from Europe to take over global strategy. She was sharp, mature, calm, and highly respected in the industry. My heart raced the first time I met her in the office. Tall, neatly cropped hair, warm yet confident voice. "Wild, Kellen's told me all about you. Thank you for saving my brother." I smiled. "Just doing what anyone would, Ms. Rowe." She laughed shyly. "Call me Alexandra." She quickly noticed me through my reports and projects. My calm competence impressed her, and she grew curious about the man who had saved her brother's life. During joint meetings, she asked, "Wild, what's your take on European expansion?" I presented my ideas. She nodded. "Brilliant. You really think long-term." Nerves gradually turned into closeness. We talked after work. Through shared projects, we grew to trust and understand each other deeply. I felt a warmth I hadn't known in years. She valued my kindness and the way I loved my daughter. My heart raced when I invited her to dinner. "Alexandra, come over and meet Luna." She smiled. "Are you serious? I'd be honored." Luna adored her instantly. "You're so pretty. Will you paint with me?" Alexandra hugged her. "Of course, sweetie. What should we draw?" I was nervous about new feelings, but her sincerity opened my heart. Late coffees after meetings, sharing our pasts. She listened. "You're stronger than you know, Wild." Our relationship grew naturally, quietly, genuinely. The kind of peace I thought I'd never find again after my first marriage. My heart pounded the first time I held her. "Alexandra, I love you." She whispered. "I love you too, Wild." After nearly a year together, Alexandra proposed one simple evening, just the three of us. My heart went wild as she knelt with a ring. "Wild, I want to be with you and Luna forever. Will you marry me?" Luna cheered. "Say yes, Daddy. Hurry." Tears in my eyes, I answered. "Yes, my love." Luna threw her arms around her. "You're my mommy now." Nervous excitement and pure happiness filled us. We held a small, warm wedding. Wesley walked the bride. Kellen was best man. It took place in the Rowe family garden under warm sunshine, with only my parents and closest friends. Wesley clapped my shoulder. "Be happy, son." Our new life overflowed with peace. Alexandra loved Luna like her own, taught her to paint, read bedtime stories. Wesley and Kellen visited most weekends, filling the house with laughter. "Grandpa, play chess with me," Luna would shout. Sometimes I took Alexandra and Luna to visit my parents. My heart raced with joy driving through the countryside. Mom hugged Alexandra. Our daughter-in-law is beautiful and talented. We're so lucky. Watching my aging parents hold Luna's hands, smiling happily in their new home, filled me with a peace I'd never known. Standing in the yard at sunset, golden light over the fields, I remembered the days of being despised, humiliated, thrown out by the very people I thought were family. The stormy night, Dylan's laughter, Willow's accusing eyes. The past felt distant now. I realized every pain, failure, and wound had led me here, to the life I truly deserved. The greatest lesson: sometimes loss is life's way of guiding us to something better. I believe that in family, whether the one we're born into or the one we choose, only kindness, respect, and truly seeing each other's worth can create real happiness. No one is perfect, but everyone deserves a place to come home to, as long as it's filled with genuine love,